Hi everyone, we're group 3 and our continent was Africa. We're focusing on Egypt and medicine. So this is our table of contents, and I'm Jasmine and I'll be talking about the social context. So Egypt is amongst the earliest civilizations in Africa. Their culture has records dating back over 1,000 years, and because its culture was considered complex and stable, it actually influenced the cultures of Europe. The Egyptians were obsessed with life and the afterlife, and so they believed that they would live here on Earth, and when they died, they'd go into the afterlife. What was really important to them was to stay in Egypt, because they believed that dying outside of Egypt was fine, but they were really worried about being buried outside of Egypt. They believed if they were buried outside of Egypt, that when they died, they were not allowed to go into the afterlife. They would be condemned to non-existence. So when they die, they're just gone. And so they always had to make sure that if they left Egypt, to always have preparations ready to have their body returned to Egypt in case they died. So the Egyptians were responsible for developing the ramp and lever and geometry for construction purposes, so their pyramids and tombs. They made advances in mathematics and astronomy, which was also important to the pyramids. The pyramids had to be aligned like to the stars, because they believed that was their connections to speak to the gods. And they also had improvements in irrigation and agriculture, and also medicine, which is what we'll be talking about. Kelsey will now come up and talk about STEM.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm going to be talking to you about the STEM connections with ancient Egypt medicine. Okay, so here we go. So in ancient Egypt, medicine was dominated by men, which I found to connect with STEM because the percentage of women that go into the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and math, are lower than when men study them, and women are often looked down upon, saying they can't accomplish it. So the fact that the medicine is dominated by men kind of connects. That was the first connection that we talked about. Just like in the STEM fields, engineering is used, and engineering is basically an easier way to find simple tasks, to complete a task easier, and all the tools that I'll be talking to you about right now falls under that category. A very common tool that was used were bandages to cover wounds and heal them. Willow leaves were actually used for those specific bandages, so we thought that was very interesting. So like I said before, they treated wounds using bandages. Disease was a little bit harder to diagnose because they came up with their own ingredients, and it was trial and error. It would either work or it wouldn't. So I'm going to read off some of the most common tools for you. They had knives with stone blades. Blades in some procedures were heated until it glowed red and used to make incisions. Of course, this was rare because they wouldn't always automatically go in there and just perform surgery on somebody. It was usually after they had already passed, so they can figure it out and figure out what happened before it actually happens. Or if it does happen, they'll go in there and do their thing. They use metal scalpels, dental pliers, a bone saw, probes, the catheter, and clamps for stopping blood flow. Another STEM connection, I mentioned the medicines and the ingredients they use. They had to use different measurements. They had to put the right measurements, and if it was wrong, it would either be a little bit overdosed or not enough. So when they would use different measurements, they would put leaves or whatever they could find to cure a certain sickness that they were trying to help out. So I thought that fell under the category of science-based STEM. And also, Egyptian physicians and those of assistants created and understood what they should or should not use during procedures. Okay, so now enough of the STEM connections. Ms. Courtney is going to come in here and talk to you about the strong evidence provided for our topic.
My name is Courtney. I'm going to be talking about the strong evidence. So in ancient Egypt, medicine was originally conducted just by medicine men and magicians alone, but at some point people either stopped believing or they realized it wasn't really working that well. So then at that point, physicians and doctors started popping up. There was, in recent years, there have been archaeological digs where they have found not only tools and documents, but they've also found things like hieroglyphs, which have showed pictures of physicians and doctors like conducting experiments, or they are doing surgery or just common medicine. And they've only ever been men, so that was interesting. The doctors were only men, patients were men. And then at that point, the Egyptians were also discovering things about the organs and how they worked, and then common diseases and illnesses. And so they kind of started documenting them down and writing them down for reference in something called the Papyrus Ebers. And they treated it like a medical journal, and they would write down the organs and how they worked. And they would also write down illnesses and how they found the best way to treat them. And with that being said, next Brianna's going to talk about the historical connections to medicine and injury.
Hi, I'm Brianna, and I'm going to be talking about historical medicine in Egypt. So there were 3 types of injuries that they took care of. The first one was treatable injuries. There's something that was taken care of right away, especially if it was at the surface of the skin. The second one is contestable injuries. It was something that wasn't really life-threatening, and the doctors felt it wasn't necessary to intervene with the injury. And the last one is untreatable. Basically, what it means, they really didn't do anything about it. If it was just way too severe, there was nothing that could be done. And if it was just something really minor, it was just left alone. So gods and spirits and demons were believed to be the cause of diseases when people were to get sick. Sometimes they'd rather use natural remedies and prayer, and they would surround the person to free the person of the spirits or the ugly demons that were surrounding them and causing them to get these diseases and making them ill. As for broken bones and fractures, it was easy to the doctors because it was a first learned skill, and it wasn't really too intense to where it was something that needed to be surgically done. As for surgery, deep surgeries in the body were basically impossible because they didn't have anesthetics. There was no way of putting the person to sleep and actually fixing the problem. They only had antiseptics, and the antiseptics only helped with an infection to keep the inflammation down, and that was basically the reason that deep surgery was never really performed. So up next, Gladys is going to be talking about the current connections of medicine in Egypt.
Hi, my name is Gladys, and I'll be focusing on the current connections of Egyptian medicine. The Egyptians back then were very wise and advanced with what they knew about medicine. A lot of tools we use today in surgery and checkups, like dental pliers, bone saws, scalpels, they had back then. Obviously, today it's a lot more advanced and safer to use these tools than the tools back then. Something interesting I did find was that they used a plant that's called poppies, and the juice, they would mix it in with liquor, and that way it would sedate the people and relieve them from pain. And a lot of the medicine we use today, like the opioids, they contain poppy juice, which is incredible to know that these Egyptians had that knowledge that this juice can do that, and we use that juice today in our medicine. Today we use prosthetics a lot of times to improve someone's functionality in life, and the Egyptians actually used prosthetics back then. For the same reasons, but a lot of times it was because they believed that in order for you to return to the afterlife, you had to be whole and preserved, which leads me to mummification. Mummification actually led to the knowledge of surgery, and the reason why was because when someone would die, they would inspect the body, and that's how they grew to learn about the human anatomy. And as you can see in this picture, that's the god Anubis, and he was a god of death. So he would look over these bodies, these mummies, and he would take care of them as they go through the process of mummification and the process of leading to afterlife. And it's incredible to know that they didn't have the technology we have now, and they still were able to have all this knowledge on medicine. And this concludes our presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and got a lot more knowledge.
They were basically believed that they were the cause of the disease.
Bandage wound,
Is a plant, and they would use the. Okay.
injuries with those with. I screwed up. Yeah, sorry. I totally lost.
And with that being said, next Brianna is going to talk about the historical connection.
That's another bomb threat.
Oh my gosh, I've been recording that the whole time.